Hi class, did you know that James Lick is going to be 85 years this year? It's been around for a while, and you might have noticed the beautiful tiles that are located above the school and all throughout the building. These tiles are representative of the Art Deco style. So it was a time as an art movement in the 19 started before World War I, but really continued through the 1930s when James Lick Middle School was built. And they are characterized by geometric shapes and also with some curved influence. And a lot of the tiles that you see around our school are what are called relief tiles. That means they are a tile that has been carved into. So we have the exciting opportunity to make a relief tile collaborative project that can go on the outside of the school to celebrate the 85th anniversary of James Lick.
Okay, so I'm really excited about this project, and the last picture I showed you is the possible site where this might be able to go. And what it's going to be is we are going to have 6 by 6 tiles, so a tile about this big, and every tile is going to have a different year. So all 85 years that James Lick has been around from 1933 to 19 up to 2000 to now to 2018. It hasn't ended, but we're going to have a tile for each year, and we're going to choose an historical event from each year. So something important that happened in that year that we want to make a tile about. So if it was 1967, I think, when the first man landed on the moon, we could do a tile with a moon and an astronaut on top of the moon, symbolizing its when the year that the man first landed on the moon. So, and then all of these tiles together will be put together in that spot, and then it will spell JLMS with all the different years amongst them. So the thing that we need to do now is research different historical events that happened in those years. So we're going to use our annotation guide and a website called On This Day that will help us figure out what design we're going to make for our tile. Okay, I'm going to show you how we're going to use our annotation guide. I'm going to show you how to use our annotation guide to find out which event we want to research for the tile project. So you should have the annotation guide with you, and we're going to focus on 2 symbols. We're going to focus on the heart symbol, your favorite part, and the question symbol, a question that you have. So I'm just going to kind of think. I've got my heart in my back of my mind. I know I'm looking for a favorite part, my heart, and something that I have a question about, my question. So what you're going to do is, and here is the annotation guide in English. Favorite part, heart, question, or pregunta, question. You're going to go to Google, and you are just going to type in on this day events by year. So you type in on this day events by year, and you're going to come to this thing that says historical events by year. Now remember, we are celebrating the 85 years of James Lick. So we're not looking for these years way thousands of years in the past. We're going to scroll down when we get there, and we're only looking for the years 1933 until 2018. Okay, so let's say we're just going to what we're going to do is we're going to just pick some random years and find some things that are our favorite parts, our hearts, and our questions, our question marks. So let's just click on 1935 and see what we get. Okay, so these are all the historical events, things of importance that happened in 1935. So you can read down, and it says like Alabama beat Stanford on January 1st, 2035. I mean, that was an event, but maybe it wasn't the most exciting thing. Okay, here's something else. Okay, there was an entertainer named Bob Hope, and he had his first radio part. Okay. Agreement of interest. I wonder what that's about. Oh, I know. This sounds familiar. Amelia Earhart flies from Honolulu to Oakland, California. I'm going to remember that is one of my hearts. So in my sketchbook, I'm going to draw a heart and I'm going to write this sentence. 1930, and I'm going to put the year first. 1933, Amelia Earhart flies from Honolulu. All right, but I'm kind of looking for something that I have a question mark about, that I think looks interesting. I don't really know what it's about, but it looks interesting. Okay, here's Babe Ruth. Yankees release Babe Ruth and he signs with the Boston Braves. I don't really know what that means, so maybe I'm going to have that as my question mark. So I'm going to switch over to my sketchbook to show you what I mean of what we're supposed to do for the next part. Okay, so you should have already looked online to the events by year and found some things you're interested in and some things that you have a question mark. So your favorite parts and things that you have a question mark. So your paper in your sketchbook, you should have something that looks like this. Okay, this is a little bit backwards, but sorry, you get the idea. You're gonna write your year, so this is 1935, and you're gonna find at least 2 hearts and 2 question marks that you think is interesting. So I put a heart by the Amelia Earhart one, and I also put a question mark by the one about Babe Ruth. You need to find, it can be from any year, it doesn't have to be the same year, but you do need to write the year that it's from. And I want you to think about when you're finding these historical events that you're interested in, this is going to become a tile. So you need to think about something that you're going to be able to draw that you will then be able to carve into a tile. So I really like the Amelia Earhart one because I think, oh, I could do like an airplane, or I could draw a Hawaii shape and Oakland shape, and then I could do ... dots, showing that this was the flight from Hawaii to Oakland. All right. So on your question marks, I do want you to answer at least one of your question marks. So you have Yankees release. I have Yankees release Babe Ruth, so I don't really know what that means. So I'm going to go on Google and I'm going to type in Yankees release Babe Ruth 1935, see if I can find some information about what that means, and then I will have some answers to some of those questions that I had. So once you have at least 2 hearts and at least 2 question marks written down, I want you to try to answer your question mark to find out what it was, and you have at least 1 answer for your question mark, then you're ready to move to the next step. So you're ready for the next step in the tile process. So you have gotten a couple of things, events that you like. So you've marked 2 hearts and 1 question mark. Now you're going to choose 1 or 2 of them that you are going to make into a tile. So I'm going to choose my Amelia Earhart flies from Honolulu to Oakland. So first I might need to do a little research. So I'm going to go online and I'm going to say, okay, find out a little bit about Amelia Earhart, find out about that flight, and also look at images of things. So then I'm going to come up with, in my sketchbook, with just a couple of ideas. So I know that, and these are going to be quick thumbnail sketches. They shouldn't be beautiful pieces of art. They should just be ideas. So I'm going to come up with at least 2, maybe 3 ideas of what my tile might look like. All right, so I know she flew from Hawaii, so I might actually look up a picture of the islands of Hawaii. I know they're shaped something like that, all the way to Oakland. Maybe I'll put Oak there, and maybe I'll look up a picture of a plane to see how you draw a plane, but this is just my sketch, okay? I'm not trying to make it beautiful, all right? So that could be one idea. So I've sort of got this plane going from Hawaii to Oakland. Maybe another idea, since she had such a iconic face, maybe I could draw her face here. All right, I don't remember what exactly she looks like, but you can look online to look, and I might have maybe a plane in the background, something like that. Okay, so maybe I even come up with a second idea. You should have at least 2 ideas for your tile. Once you have 2 ideas, and remember, these are quick sketches. They shouldn't take you longer than like 10 or 15 minutes. They're quick sketches. You're going to bring it to me, and we're going to decide on 1 sketch that you might refine. That means you're going to make it a real piece of art that you're actually going to transfer onto your tile. So you're going to get a piece of paper that looks like this. You're going to write your name and period number. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to write the date. So my date is 1933 because Amelia Earhart flew from Hawaii to Oakland in 1930. Oh, sorry, I think it's 1935. So I'm going to put 1935 here. Then I'm going to start drawing out the picture. Okay, you have to stay within these lines and your picture cannot go into this box. This is just for the date. This is the actual size that the tile is going to be. When you are drawing your tile, I want you to try to make sure it has some sort of background, midground perhaps, and foreground. And I'm going to tell you what that is on the next video, the next section. So background and your middle ground and your foreground are parts of a composition that give depth. That means it makes it look like it's actually something that is part of life. It's three-dimensional. So in this picture you see there's the background that's kind of like this mountain, and then you've got this middle ground that's the tree and the house, and then you've got this foreground which is perhaps this bush that here is in here in front. On the next picture, on this picture you see there's the foreground is this shoe right in front, and there's this guy here on the sidewalk who is in the middle ground, and then there's the background with the trees and the sky. So in these tiles, these are going to be relief tiles, so they're going to be carved into clay, and we want to make them look three-dimensional. So as you're drawing your tile, I want you to try to make sure it has at least a background and a foreground. It might not have a middle ground, like if you're doing a portrait or someone's face, it's kind of hard to have a middle ground. But I want you to try to have at least 3 layers so that you're going to have 3 different, one deep layer, one middle layer, and one layer that pops up on your tile. And here I'm going to show you what that means. Okay, so now that you know what background, midground, and foreground are, you're going to start on your sketch. So you're going to get a piece of paper that looks like this, and you're going to write the date, whatever date it is that you have, and you're going to draw your sketch. Okay, this is where you're going to do your best work. If you're trying to figure out how to draw an airplane, or you're trying to figure out how to draw something, do it in your sketchbook first. I might actually have you do a little practice one in your sketchbook before I give you this piece of paper. But once I give you this piece of paper, that's when you're going to draw out your design. Okay, so put your name and date on it, start drawing out the design, make sure your year goes here. So here is a design that I have done that has to do with landing on the moon. So we've got 1967, and I've got sort of my design. Now as I was drawing, I was thinking about what was going to be the foreground, the midground, and the background. So I know that the space here out in the back is going to be my background. Okay, so that's going to be my background. All right, so I'm going to kind of, in my drawing, I'm going to kind of mark everything that is going to be my background. Okay, and the star, all right, and then I know here the moon is going to sort of be my midground. That's going to be sort of, this is going to be carved out of the tile, the background. This is going to be kind of carved out, but maybe a little bit raised. And then the person and the flag are going to be my foreground. So after I do my sketch, I'm going to mark it B. I'm going to mark everything that's background B, anything that's midground M. Actually, I think I'm going to have my stars be the midground, even though they're in the background. I'm going to raise them up. And I'm going to have the astronaut and the flag be in the foreground. They're going to be the things that are highest. So that you have something that looks like this on the paper, okay? And with the date, and you've marked your midground, foreground, and background, you need to do a short description. So if you've already done some research, you might already know what to write here. So I could say, like, in 1969, the first United States of America sent a shuttle to the moon, and the first man walked on the moon. His name was Neil Armstrong. Just like 2 or 3 sentences about the event, okay? Then you're ready to get your clay.